All right, guys, Gonzo here. Hope you can hear me over the wind I'm down kind of in the bottom here in camp, and the wind's a little bit subdued, but we're having 50-mile-an-hour gusts, and I wanted to check on camp. It's been 3 weeks since I put this shelter up, and except for one day that we came out to have some coffee, it's been pretty much unattended. We've had, in the 3 weeks, we've had two snowstorms, 3 different days of rain, including a thunderstorm night before last, and today 50-mile-an-hour gusts and windstorm. And the shelter is still up. Now it's gotten a little slack right here. I can fix that by just straightening up that tent peg right there and just kind of tightening that up. Looking inside, most everything is dry. It is still dry, which means it's facing in the right direction. And everything still looks good. Here's my jute twine to my log. All my wood that I set in here before is still dry. My sleeping bed area just needs to be straightened out a little bit, but it's dry. Look, the leaves inside here are dry. So that means that this shelter, 3 weeks, pretty much unattended, 2 snows, 3 days of rain, and now a windstorm, and it's still holding. And this is why I built this shelter. That means my bedding in there, had I been here in camp in my dry area, everything would have been, my bedding and my gear would have been sitting back there in the dry area, and everything would have been dry. And this is why I love this setup. It takes me 3 minutes or so to set up. I think when I set this up originally, I think it said it took me about 8 minutes because I had to create some tie-off points on the fly, and that was still pretty good, but it's typically about a 3-minute setup for me. So other than it just needs to be lifted up and one peg tightened up, maybe 2 pegs. Now, had the rain shifted, I could have closed this simply by taking that tent peg and moving it towards center, and then taking this tent peg and overlapping it. The wind comes from the west and northwest. It comes this way and that way. So by closing it and leaving this over the other flap, it would have essentially been completely windproof. Everything would have been stayed dry. Even if the wind would have shifted, nothing would have gone in this direction. So it worked out pretty good. Man, I love this shelter. This is a 9x12 canvas tarp. It already has that butyl backing on it. I bought it at a paint store. By folding it under 3 feet, it gives me a 9x9 essentially footprint to work with for the rest of the tent. That butyl backing, when I first bought this, it stunk really bad of chemical, almost like kerosene. And I hung it out, and it took, I don't know, 3 weeks before that smell finally went away. And now it's fine. You can't smell it anymore. And it rolls up kind of tight, and it works really well. Everything stays dry. You can see I just need to straighten out the bed a little bit, pull that out, and straighten up this little area where it's bunched. It's taken a pretty good beating over the last 3 weeks, but it's still standing. So anyway, so that's an update on my shelter that I put up in the cold, wet fire challenge. 3 weeks later, it is still perfect. And there is no doubt that this shelter could house me. People say you can't live in a tent long term, and I say bull. I say that you can live in it long term, spring, summer, fall for sure, with a few little modifications and a little winterizing around there, building up perhaps sorry, that wind's loud. Dead leaves and some brush and stuff around the outside to help sort of protect it in the winter time, and being able to close it up and get your fire pit closer. Yeah, you could probably rough it in the winter depending on where you live, but definitely a 3-season shelter that will handle all the wind and the rain and the snow. So that's it, gang. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Gonzo from Northwest Central Indiana, and we'll see you on the trail. Out.